Ben McQuinney Outdoor Radio is brought to you by AnglersChoice.ca, the Angler's Choice in handmade soft plastics. Also presented to you by Handlebars Musky Lures, Zing the Bling, Frantic Big Game Baits, Keith's Trophy Fishing, Fish NV Guide Service, and Husky Musky Leaders. You're listening to Ben McQuinney Outdoor Radio. Hey Matt, it's Ben. Just giving you a call at 7:30 Thursday evening. Would definitely like to get this interview up and going because I always thought pirates are a myth. So if you say you are a pirate, get in touch with me. Anyways, take care. Bye. So I guess it's a little bit of a little tongue-in-cheek here, but whatever, folks. Just playing a little bit of phone tag with good old Matt Rimmer, but we're going to be underway very shortly here as soon as I'm done punching in his phone number here, and we'll get the show on the road. So, folks, I'd just like to welcome you to our 13th episode. I'm your host, Ben McQuinney. This is Ben McQuinney Outdoor Radio, and on the line right now is none other than the pirate himself, Mr. Matt Rimmer. Hey, you know, I got all showered, shaved, I donned my Fishbum apparel, and here I am thinking, I'm like, what the heck? This is my 13th episode. Matt figures I'm going to throw the monkey wrench into it.
When are you recording it?
Just over my my microphone computer.
Cool.
So it's just pre-recorded and just have a regular old conversation. So.
Oh, let's do it.
So you've been traveling?
Yeah.
Where'd you go?
I was the recent trip was up at Thaddeus Lake.
Yes.
Doing a much-needed family vacation. And before that, I was at Lost Lake for the Dream Lodge.
Yes, that was with Becky and
It was with
yourself?
Becky Guardhouse.
Yeah.
And a couple lucky contestants that had won a contest that we put on, and we try to do at least one, but we try to do a couple a year that gives the customers a chance to get away from their lives and go fishing, without the burden of having to spend thousands of dollars to be able to do it.
Absolutely, and we have some of the best Canadian destinations as well. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's we live in a paradise, and it shocks me sometimes that people will fly, hundreds, never mind hundreds, thousands of miles away to fish waters when we live in such a pristine country.
Oh, absolutely.
When it comes to fishing and hunting, anything outdoors, really. So yeah, it's unbelievable.
So I'm boggled. I'm thinking, oh my God, how do I get a hold of Matt? Okay, what's his voicemail saying? Oh, email him if it's an urgent matter. Yes, it is. So we have some ground to cover.
Yes.
We met 2 years ago, correct?
Absolutely.
At the Spring Fishing and Boat Show at Andy Pilata's show. And hats off, Andy. I enjoy your show, and I look forward to being there next year again, hopefully with an entourage. But you've gone from being a small home mom and pop business to an international sensation, as far as I'm concerned.
We've done well. We've there is no denying it. When we started, we were just a couple fishing fools that had an idea, and an idea that had been done before.
Yeah.
We didn't reinvent apparel by any means. We were just lucky enough to come from the industry, and by the industry, I've been in marketing and design my entire life, and being an avid fisherman and the love of fishing, it kind of, I'm going to say 5 years anyway, it had always been in the back of my mind, if somebody was to do this and do it right, we could really do something. And when I say do it right, I don't take anything away from, the forefathers who kind of paved the way.
Yeah.
I mean, do
Our
it right in the way
grandfathers.
that it needs to be a full-time gig.
Yeah.
To be able to do it on the level that we've tried to succeed, it has to be done, not 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, 7 days a week, 18 hours a day.
Yeah.
You're always coming up with new designs. You're always in meetings. You're always trying to come up with that next thing.
Yeah. And you have a fantastic,
we're
fantastic
lucky.
staff.
We get to work in an industry where most people only get to play.
Yeah.
So our staff, guys like Nick LaFerriere, Dan Lamoureux, the entire crew, they work tirelessly because they realize every day that they wake up, they get to work in an industry where most people get to play. So it's been fantastic, and our customers have seemed to attach themselves to us and grow and grow and grow, and we're ever thankful for that.
And you have, I have to say, you have a formidable army of pro staff that align themselves with you and your company to market the brand Fishbum. And I just want to hats off to all my Fishbum counterparts, all the pro staff of Fishbum. We rock. Matt, you have an army of us out there.
We've definitely massed, an army of fishing pros and people that spend the majority of, if not their lives, all of their free time either in tournaments and in fishing related activities, and that's key, in my opinion, to not only the industry. The fishing industry is run in meetings, and for the most part, suits and ties run the industry.
Yeah.
But what really drives the industry are the people that are out there doing it. We identified really early on that our key to success will be to have people doing what they do and wearing the gear. So we were lucky. We worked extremely hard at it, but we were extremely lucky to be able to, hook up with the people we have hooked up with, and them showing their support for us. And we like to think vice versa. We try to help out anybody that's aligned with us. We'll do whatever we can to help promote them. So it's kind of been a happy marriage.
Hey, absolutely. I have no complaints thus far in our relationship. You've been a good husband.
If you do have any complaints, I'll put you through to our customer service, and you can take care of it.
But now the page is turned in 2 years. Did you ever think it would blow up this fast, this hard, this loud? Or did you just envision it as down the road kind of thing?
We had visions of it.
Yeah.
I don't think we ever thought it would be this quick. I would be lying if we did. But we quickly realized we would get snippets of it, and from our sales and from the chitter chatter you would hear around, we would get these little snippets of what was kind of shaping up to what we are, necessarily now.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a constant reminder that, whoa, hang on, if this actually does go where we think maybe, or we had hoped one day it will go, we need to be ready.
Yeah.
So we're always trying to make sure that we are, I don't want to say better, I want to say different. So, our Facebook page is a huge thing for us. If a customer has a problem, we try to say, look, you send us a message on Facebook, we'll get back to you as fast as we humanly possibly can. And there's times we answer people within 3 minutes of them posting. If you can't get a hold of us on Facebook, our office number is this, our email is this. So we did see it.
Yeah.
Biggest fear was, how do you be ready for it? And if you get one shot at it, if you miss it, you miss the boat, and it floats on without you, and you're kind of left going, well, this is something we could have done. So we did see pieces of it, but it scared us at the same time.
Yeah. And now, Fishbum, we have a syndicated commercial on Wild TV, correct?
It will be syndicated as of next week. That's right, and
awesome.
then as well as we're working on the Outdoor Network and the World Fishing Network.
Awesome, and well, we like, and you have like far-reaching.
We sell around the world.
Yeah.
That's one thing that amazes me, and you know. It's one thing to say we've sold a few shirts in our hometown. It's one thing to say, we sold some jackets in our province. It's another thing to say, we average X amount of orders every year from the likes of New Zealand, Switzerland, Portugal, France, Denmark, Hong Kong, India. If you fish, it seems to transcend borders, and we'll ship it wherever it needs to go as long as the customer, is willing to wear our gear. We'll find a way to get it to you.
That's fantastic. Now, so yourself,
okay?
You have a few passions that I've regarded over the last 2 years.
Yeah.
You love your steelhead and rainbow fishing, correct?
That's how I started fishing. Well, that's a lie, actually. I just lied on the air.
Oh,
I
my
started
God.
fishing bass like everybody else.
It's okay.
But I live in an area where steelhead run there's a pretty healthy run of them. So I had hooked up with a guide by the name of Graham Bristow, who is, by all means, my mentor in the fishing industry. He was the first person to ever put a fly rod in my hand and kind of teach me the ways. And I'd grown up my whole life. I'd played hockey and AAA and this and that. So I'd been used to being taught, but nobody had ever taught me fishing, and I really lacked somebody, the way you would teach a child or the way you would teach an adolescent, to play a sport. Nobody had ever guided me that way. So like everybody else, I would go out and I would try my best, and I'd have some good days and bad days, and I could never figure out why there was the good days and why there was the bad days. I would just always relate it to, well, that's fishing.
Yeah.
And I hooked up with Graham Bristow, who owns a Perfect Drift guiding company, and he just spent time with me, and we became friends, and now, we fish together all the time. But he's the one that really put steelhead on my brain, and then taught me they're a very, I don't know if finicky is the right word, but
yeah, absolutely.
Sure, I can't say what they are on the radio.
I would give you that, yes, finicky.
They're a fish that is generally, more finicky than another fish. So he taught me the nuances of fishing steelhead.
Nice. So we go from steelhead. Now, the other fish that I noticed that you like to knock on is bass.
I do like bass.
Yeah.
I like bass too. Whenever you spend time trying to catch a fish, as finicky an eater, let's say, as a steelhead is at times of the year, it's nice to go out and just have a day where you actually fish for something that's hungry.
Yeah.
and they actively search out food. So, and that doesn't happen all the time, but it definitely happens more often than it does with steelhead. So it's a nice switch from the steelheading or the steelheader in me to be able to just get on a boat and go into a bass and try to dial in a lake.
Yeah, and the bass fishing, like Thaddeus Lake, is a wonderful Canadian destination for bass, walleye, pike, and
it's unbelievable. I've been lucky enough to kind of go all over Canada in fishing at lodges through Fishbum, and the fishing at Thaddeus Lake is just hands down. It's unbelievable. There's really no word for it. A bad day on Thaddeus Lake is the equivalent to the best day of fishing I've probably ever had anywhere else. It just kind of, it makes any average angler like myself look like, one of the pros. So I generally take a camera with me when I go up there because it makes me look like a pro. So
I like shooting fish in a barrel.
Yeah, hey, you gotta work with what you got, right?
Exactly. For our listeners out there, you can look online. What's the website for Thaddeus, Matt?
It's just www.thaddeouslakelodge.com. Where they're actually in the middle of updating their website, so the website's a little old looking, but there's more than enough information there, and it truly is it's just mind-boggling. Another lodge is Lost Lake. Lost Lake is also closer. If you're in generally the GTA or the greater Toronto area, Lost Lake is about 6 hours away, and it was the same. The worst day there was just unbelievable.
Fantastic. Now, flash forward, we're at the present moment in time, and I, being part of the crew, follow intuitively. Now, you do slip by me a couple times. I'm like, get home from work, and I'm like, what? When? How does this happen? I don't want to buy an iPhone. I really don't see the need to have that distraction.
We live in a market today that we feel, anyway, and we come from this background in marketing and design, and we feel that we live in a market today that your customer wants to be a part of something. And we get that, and I get that, and that's one of the reasons why we work so hard. And when everybody else, at times it seems gets to go home and spend time with their family, we've still got work to do.
Oh, I know. We've met many nights 12, 1, 2 in the morning. What are you doing? I'm working.
It seems to be a kind of a trend that we're setting.
Yeah.
But, your customer wants to feel like it's a part of it, and we get that because growing up in the stuff that we were into, we felt the same way. I couldn't get enough of a said product. If that was a product I believed in and I wanted to be a part of, there was nothing more or nothing they could do that I would ever get sick of it. I just would want to be a part of it and see it and touch it and feel it, and I was proud of it. And what we do is we take a lot of pride in the fact that we try to make ourselves a company that young anglers, middle-aged anglers, and the elderly anglers would want to feel that in. We're a Canadian company. We're fiercely proud to be Canadian. Our gear is made in Canada.
Yeah. And that's that right there. I don't mean to cut you off, Matt, but that right there, when you can absolutely call yourself a Canadian product, that is absolutely something to be proud of in this industry.
Well, that was something that from the very beginning we said, look, it's very easy to go overseas and get products made.
Yeah.
I mean, that's almost to us as an excuse. Yep. Well, it's cheaper, so we went overseas and got our stuff made. Well, if you spend a little more time and you really look at it, there's a bit of a moral issue there with us that we live in the neighborhoods we live in. Mm-hmm. We live in the country we live in. Why shouldn't we support our neighbors and our friends? And that's not saying people overseas are not our friends.
No.
That's just saying that the company is located here, so we're going to do everything we possibly can to keep the jobs here.
Yeah.
And, this is kind of a perfect segue, but we haven't released this information yet, so we're going to kind of groundbreak it on...
Hey, why not? I like it. Here we go. Breaking news.
We've got, we looked at it and said, well, that doesn't really work for Americans. Americans are a fiercely proud nation, just like Canadians are. And why, when an American buys our gear, is he buying a Canadian product? So we've just recently hired 2 different manufacturers in the United States, and if you buy in the United States and you purchase in the United States, it'll be made in the United States, shipped from the United States. Yeah. And if you buy from Canada, it'll be made in Canada and shipped from Canada.
There you go.
And we don't plan on stopping there. We sell a lot of stuff in Europe, and we're presently in meetings with other companies across the Great Pond that want to look at doing our gear, and then you can say if you're from England, you can buy in England, and it's from England. So
fantastic. So there you have it, folks. Just moments from now, because our lives are a flash in the pan. But you'll be able to purchase your American-made Fishbum gear. And now, Bushbum. Bushbum. Almost sounds like a beer.
It does sound like, amongst other things, I'm sure, but it does sound like a beer. It's a natural progression for us.
There you go.
We have a ton of guys on our pro staff that hunt. we're also avidly interested in the whole hunting industry. And it's funny, our Bushbum Facebook page will launch today. So
hey, way to go on the 13th episode. This is fantastic.
Our website will be, a matter of days behind that. And we want to do the same thing for the hunting industry as we've tried to do with fishing, and hopefully capture a market where people maybe have grown a little tired of the same old, and say, hang on a second here, there is another option, and be that option for them.
Fantastic. And there is a commercial floating around on the waves on YouTube.
Yeah, that was more like an ident, but yeah, you're right. We were just kind of
toying around.
Right, we were letting people know what's happening, and we'll actually have a Bushbum commercial that airs on Wild TV and the other stations. But we've got some work to do before we get to that point. But everything that we've done with Bushbum, we don't just kind of willy-nilly come up with a design and then shoot it out there for the public to deem whether they like it or not. We take a lot of pride in the fact that once we make something, we almost beta test it. And when I say beta test it, I mean we'll take it to a select group of hunters, or we'll take it to a select, in Fishbum's case, a select group of fishermen, and say, look, tell us what you think about it. Do you like it? Do you like the design? Would you move this? If you wore it, would you wear this, fishing? Would you wear it to your grandmother's barbecue? We want to be that company that when people see the gear, it doesn't look like somebody just drew it, slapped it on, and then said, well, here's hoping we make some money off of this. It's much bigger than that to us. This company is our baby, and we take care of it like it is. So
when I have had to don the hoodie on my construction job in the cold, it gets the most comments you would ever know.
Get a lot of comments.
They're like, dude, where'd you get that sweater? I said, it's a fantastic sweater. It's got a double-line hood, so you just slap it on your bean, put your hard hat on, it keeps your ears warm.
That's the other thing. We going back to what we just said, it's real easy to go find a hoodie from a manufacturer that's a $3 hoodie and slap a $2 screen print job on it, and then go to market and try to sell something for $50.
Yeah.
The reality is, consumers aren't stupid.
No,
and
we
now
are not.
More so than ever, consumers understand what quality is, and people work hard these days, and that's something we're very cognizant of. And if you work hard and you're going to spend some of your hard-earned money on Fishbum gear, we better make damn sure that what you're buying is worth the money. Because if you don't, not only do we lose a customer, but we've lost your faith in the company. And long before, I'm worrying about losing customers and this and that, I really worry about losing the faith in or people losing the faith in us, because we take such,
Well, you hold yourself to a high standard, absolutely, 100%, because it's a part of you. You are a Fishbum. You, Matt Rimmer, are Fishbum. And your other counterparts
they probably tell you I'm an idiot.
Well, no, your lovely bride said.
Well, we're on the radio and they're not here, so I'm just going to accept it.
Your lovely bride said you're nothing but a Fishbum.
Yeah,
so
there
you go.
A few times. To me, if that's the worst I get called in my life, I'm ahead of the game. So.
And it doesn't.
We're extremely happy with where we're at.
Absolutely, and it doesn't stop there. You guys, you've taken the soul of what family is and incorporated that into the business. You have a beautiful women's line, and you also have a kids line slowly creeping into the works. So little Fishbums like my little Ty can enjoy to wear the
for
same.
God's sakes, the kids line is about to get punched in the stomach, because it's one thing that we have always wanted to do, but we've always seemed so busy doing other things to be able to get ready for this or get ready for this new release and that finally we had a meeting, and there was about 12 of us that sat around at one of our big meeting tables and said, look, if we don't do this now, it's going to be something that we're going to look at 5 years from now, and it'll be something we still haven't done. And one of the things we wanted to look at was, how do you do it a little different, like we do with everything else? So we've got some things that'll be coming out for kids that we think will make not only kids excited, but parents to be able to. We have a lot of customers that are readily at any given time willing to throw down their allegiance to Fishbum and would love nothing more than their son or their daughter to wear a shirt.
Yeah.
We want the son and the daughter to be able to ask to wear the shirt.
Yeah.
So we've come up with a few things that are a little different than the Fishbum line.
Yeah.
And when we implement them,
it's a little hardcore. It's a little abrasive, but it's not your grandfather's fishing gear either.
Well, not your grandfather's fishing style, and that's not taking anything away from.
But the kids' line, I like the mascot.
Yeah,
he's
absolutely.
Cool. So
it's not so much what we're doing with the designs that we're changing.
Yeah.
We're trying to change some of, and we're not, trust me when I say this, nobody hold their breath like we're reinventing the wheel. We're just trying to make sure that when we make a shirt, we're going to do some things to the shirt so that, your son or daughter, when it comes into, 8 o'clock in the morning, when he's rooting through his or her drawer, that's the shirt they want to put on.
Yeah.
And, we think we figured out a way to do that, and, time will tell.
Okay, well, because my son Titus, he gets to wear, every time he catches a fish, I always go out with my headbanger ball cap.
Right.
And every time he catches a fish, he gets to wear my hat until he catches another fish.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah. So we have this little competition. Who gets to wear the Fishbum hat the longest?
Well, don't tell any of my staff that, because I have a feeling I wouldn't be wearing a hat very many times.
Well, folks, that's all the time I have today. Matt, it's been a pleasure. Matt, all the best to you.
My pleasure. I appreciate it.
And if you have any sponsors that you would love to plug right now, now's your time.
We're lucky enough to be sponsored by some fantastic people. We're sponsored by Dodge, Maui Gym. We're really lucky to be in an industry where people trust us with their gear and would like us to use their gear. Mm-hmm. So, people like Dodge, obviously Dodge trucks, I drive one. And,
it scares me, it does.
It's definitely
big.
A fully wrapped different vehicle, and it gets attention. But
well, you're only 4 foot, so you getting into that vehicle, that is a scary scene.
It is not, it's a truck that'll scare your mom, that's for sure. But, Dodge, Maui Gym, Islander Reels, we recently signed, a thing with G. Loomis, so we use, all G. Loomis rods, and they've done nothing but rope gigantic fish for myself and our staff. So those kinds of sponsors, at the end of the day, put a big smile on your face. So
absolutely.
Say thank you to them.
All right. Matt Rimmer, the founder of Fishbum Outfitters, and you can catch all the great threads online at www.fishbumoutfitters.com. Matt, always a pleasure, buddy, and we'll see you on the water.
Thanks, pal. We'll talk to you soon.
All right.
All right, bye-bye then.
Ben McQuinney Outdoor Radio is brought to you by AnglersChoice.ca, the Angler's Choice in handmade soft plastics. Also presented to you by Handlebars Musky Lures, Zing the Bling, Frantic Big Game Baits, Keith's Trophy Fishing, Fish NV Guide Service, and Husky Musky Leaders. You're listening to Ben McQuinney Outdoor Radio. Hey folks, if you like what you hear on Ben McQuinney Outdoor Radio, be sure to drop us a line at benmcquinney@yahoo.com. Alright folks, now it's time for the Rant with Cooper Gallant.
Tonight I'm going to talk about handling fish. Handling fish is very important. Handling a large fish vertically is not the best way to hold a fish, because they're never in that position when they're in the water. And when the fish are being held vertically, it can put a lot of stress on the fish, especially when you're lifting a big king salmon, putting tons of weight onto the gill plate. So the best way to handle a large fish is to put one hand on the tail and the other right on its belly close to the fish's head, holding it horizontally. I've actually seen fish like steelhead and salmon get their gills ripped. I've done this before, but I've learned from my mistakes and people telling me. So I hope this helps some people handling salmon and trout. Thanks everyone for listening. This is Cooper Gallant, 60-second rant. Right here on Ben McQuinney Outdoor Radio.
Ben McQuinney Outdoor Radio is brought to you by AnglersChoice.ca, the Angler's Choice in handmade soft plastics. Also presented to you by Handlebars Musky Lures, Zing the Bling, Frantic Big Game Baits, Keith's Trophy Fishing, Fish NV Guide Service, and Husky Musky Leaders. You're listening to Ben McQuinney Outdoor Radio. My next guest is, well, I would have to say world-renowned. She's definitely a pioneer for women in the sport of the Canadian sport fishing industry, and one of her passions is fly fishing. My next guest is the lovely Kathry Maroun, and she's the executive producer and host of Whata TV. And yes, this is Big Ben.
Good. Well, I'm glad that you found me all the way here on the other coast. I'm just shutting down my computer and turning off anything that'll make noises. And
Wonderful.
You have my full attention.
Fantastic. And you have mine. This is actually, it's almost like, it's surreal for me because as a young angler growing up watching Canadian television, one of the shows that I would tune into regularly was yours.
Oh, that's
for the fly fishing. So, yeah, I'm absolutely honored to have you as a guest.
Well, thank you. I'm honored to be invited, and it's wonderful to speak with a fellow Canuck. I can understand. They talk a little funny here in the U.S.
Do they? In California? Is there a lot of dudes and hay and...
The Valley girls out in California.
And you're used to the BC coast valley where they're like, hey, can you pass me that minnow? I need to rebait.
That's absolutely the case, honestly.
So, California, you're there fishing adventure more than likely, correct?
Well, we were just talking about being out in B.C. When I was in B.C., I was bitten by a tick.
No way.
I was, 6 years ago.
6 years ago?
6 years ago,
Okay.
I went to the hospital, and they misdiagnosed me. They could have saved my life right then and there with a course of antibiotics. And they said I had shingles, didn't give me any medicine. It was, in fact, Lyme disease. I had been bitten by a tick in B.C. I was running a girls' getaway fishing weekend.
Yep.
And I was bitten, and I had a big patch on my thigh, and I went to the hospital with a high temperature, flu-like symptoms.
And
They blew it.
I don't mean to cut you off. The research I've done is these tick bites, they leave like this bullseye pattern. Like, I gotcha.
Oh, I had the I gotcha right on my thigh, an angry bullseye.
Whew.
And I was in a small regional hospital, and they blew it. So what I've been left with is I 6 years out, I have a port in my chest, and I do IV therapy, and
Now,
I've been very, very sick.
yeah, like this Lyme disease is quite debilitating.
It is.
It-
And I'm so thrilled that we have a chance to talk about this because it's all over the world.
Yeah, it is. Well,
Bugs that bite.
it's
are
not just
giving diseases.
it's not just a North American or a Canadian thing. Where there's ticks, there's Lyme disease. So, and
it's Lyme disease is an umbrella term.
mhm.
It's been used to explain a whole host of viruses, bacteria, and parasites that bugs that bite give you. So whether it's a mosquito bite, a tick, a flea, any bug, a spider bite, when these bugs bite you,
Mhm.
they secrete a garbage can of crap into your bloodstream,
Yeah.
and it takes hold. And, when I was growing up, we weren't told that they were just bugs were annoying.
Yeah, and
When you're fishing, you're bitten all the time.
yeah, it's a mosquito bite, it's a black fly bite, it's a deer fly bite. So what? Keep fishing.
Exactly. Did you ever play that game where a mosquito would bite you when you press down on your skin, and then the mosquito
Wait till he
would pull its
pops,
finger
yeah.
out, and it would get bigger and bigger and explode?
Yeah. I'm sure we all have.
I mean, we loved that. That was fascinating.
Yeah.
But now I realize
Oops.
that these bugs, bugs are nature's dirty needles, and they're making people very sick.
Well,
all over the
West
world.
Nile has been a problem in Ontario again this year. There's been a case of West Nile, and that'll take your life too.
And I think the key to all of this is prevention. It's so easy to keep covered up and, wear bug spray. Or I like the Newfoundlanders, when I go and visit there, I'll put a bug coil and duct tape it onto the beak of my ball cap.
Absolutely. And
it's a great trick to keep the bugs away. But anyway, the good news is if you catch all this stuff early, you can get a course of antibiotics and get on with your life.
Wow.
But if you don't get the treatment, then you're in for a life of pain and misery. It's hell on earth. I mean, I was like an Alzheimer's.
Physiology-wise, if I use the term correctly, I digress if I didn't. What does it affect? Does it affect you physically, emotionally, mentally?
It affects everyone differently because when a bug bites you, it gives you many diseases all at once.
Mm-hmm.
And so depending on what diseases you pick up, you're going to have different symptoms. But it's called the great imitator because they imitate 200 other illnesses, and so it's really hard to get diagnosed unless you catch it or you see the problem from the outset. So that's in my situation, which is very different than my husband's. My husband also got Lyme disease. He's my fishing buddy.
Wow! So you both share a passion and yeah.
When he got Lyme, his big muscles all hurt. So if he dropped a pen on the floor, he couldn't bend down and pick it up because he was in so much pain. And he ended up having, he was exhausted and not doing well. And but they cured him. And in my case, it went into my brain, and so I was having problems with my speech, and my memory is greatly affected. And I don't drive a car anymore. And although I'm writing stories talking about my fishing experiences, I really I haven't been able to go fishing this year. And my last fishing trip was last July in Iceland. Yeah. I went to Iceland for our that's one of our hot spots we like to frequent.
It's gorgeous out there, eh? I have
fish,
friends in that area, and I just I see the pictures that you post, and it's like, wow, that is so fantastic.
I'd like to recommend going to Iceland to anybody that has never thought of it and hasn't had it on their bucket list. It's a direct flight.
Mm-hmm.
There's one road that circumnavigates the island, so you can rent a car. You won't get lost. Everyone speaks English. The food is terrific. It's so safe, and it's a postcard at every bend, and the fishing is prolific. It's a really great destination.
Fantastic. So you now have a clothing line, correct?
Well, the clothing line came before, way back when. I was also a fishing guide. So when I turned 30, I sold my first business, and I got certified as a casting instructor. And I started off, I was guiding and teaching. And I found that I didn't want to dress like a boy. So this is back, like I'm 30 years old. I'm now 46. And so I actually designed a line of clothing, stuff that I wanted to wear, and it was just, out of necessity.
If I could interrupt one more time, Catherine, folks, my special guest on the line today is, and correct me in my pronunciation, Maroun.
Yeah, like the color maroon.
Catherine Maroun of Whata. She's the host and executive producer, and we're on the line today talking about fishing and Lyme disease, and I have to say, by far, you are a pioneer for women in the Canadian sport fishing industry, and I just want to thank you personally, if I could.
Well, thank you very much for saying that. You know, I think being from Canada, and you know, we're up sort of up there doing our own thing, and it's nice to hear that that's had an effect on other women who didn't realize that they could have a career in the sport. I mean, I grew up with two brothers, and it was never told to me that this was even a possibility. So maybe because of having my TV show and other women now coming into the sport, the young girls of today will understand that this is a possibility. And if they want to be a fishing guide or a fishing host or a distance, you know, tournament caster or fly tyer for a career, that is well within the realm of possibility.
Especially in Canada.
Oh my goodness, with the water we have, especially in Canada.
Yeah. So, like we were talking about the clothing line, now that happened before you got Lyme, and now some of the proceeds you donate to research, correct?
Well, what happened with the clothing line is then I ended up meeting other women who were into fishing, and then I ended up starting Casting for Recovery Canada, which is the sister program to Casting for Recovery. It's taking women on an all-expense-paid fishing trip, and these women all have breast cancer, and they're at various stages of recovery or illness. And so that was sort of the next thing that came along. And that's been a wonderful gift in my life because then, of course, when I got sick, I had learned so much from these women, how they cope with, you know, chronic illness and how to navigate this whole thing. I'm just so grateful to them for their friendship and everything that they shared with me. And continue, you know, we all stay in touch.
Absolutely. There was a lady that we've befriended on Facebook, Christy Lee Christensen, and I believe she also suffers from Lyme.
She's a U.S. gal.
Yes, she is.
She has Lyme.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that some of the big fishing show hosts are also battling Lyme. There was a guy, his name has just slipped my mind right now. You know, I've got some memory issues, but he showed pictures of him getting his port put in this week. So what's happening is all of these people who golf and fish and garden and dog walk and hike, anyone who has exposure, a lot of people are getting sick and they don't necessarily even know because the testing is not very accurate at this point. I mean, if you're worried that you might have one of these bug-borne illnesses, a U.S. test called IGENX, IGENX, is a very good test to identify whether or not you're dealing with this sort of thing. And the test in Canada, I wish they wouldn't even give it to people because it more often than not comes back false negative. They should be giving these people a disclaimer that even though we're testing you for this, if it comes back negative, it doesn't mean you don't have it, and you should try a different test. They're not telling people that, and that's what happened to me. I was 4 years very, very sick before I got a diagnosis, and I got the diagnosis because I sent to the U.S. for the IGENX test. My Canadian doctor drew the blood, and the results came back positive. Then I couldn't get help in Canada. I had to actually come to California, where I am right now, and this is where I've been getting help for the last 2 years. So I go back and forth. I don't stay here the whole time, but I go back and forth, and they've helped me a lot. But I'm still not well enough to be back out fishing. I hope that with time, sooner than later, I'll get back out because, my goodness, I miss it. I miss that tug on the line. I miss the beautiful places, and well, you know, I just miss it so much.
Well, I know myself, not being able to get out on the water is absolutely insanity for me. I've probably, well, I got to go out to St. Clair for muskie fishing, and you've fished muskie as well, correct?
I fished pike up in northern Canada.
Yeah. Northwest Territories.
The wolf of the north.
Yeah. And they're fabulous up there because their growing cycle is so different from down here in southwestern Ontario. So, but back to coping. My condolences for you losing a friend, because battling a terminal illness like this for you, it does take a toll on your psyche and your emotional well-being.
Well, think about this. If you have an argument with your wife, the first thing you want to do is go out on the water and cast a line, and clear your thoughts and clear your head.
Yeah.
And so, whenever you've got a problem, the best place to be is out on the water. And so when you get sick and you can't get out of bed, there's just so much of your whole coping skills that the way that you normally process and resolve problems. So it's just difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. So California, you are, I'm sure, still trying to take in some sights and whatnot. Have you gone out on any boats or charters or anything while you're staying in California?
Honestly, I'm in the clinic 5 days a week, and I'm hooked up to IVs a good portion of the day.
So it's has it turned now? Has it become more critical at this point for you?
Well, it's this whole thing with Lyme is the problem is that it's really hard to get rid of it if you've had it for a long time, because it gets into your bones and in your tissues.
Yeah.
So what I've decided to do is take the time where I'm not out fishing right now, and I've turned that love of fishing into writing. So I've been writing. I've got a blog on Facebook.
Yes, you do.
So if you go to whatacatch.net, you can see some of the stories that I've written. And I write about a lot of cutting-edge things. One of the things that I was doing is I found a show that I've just edited, and it's called The Evolution of an Angler, and it's on YouTube.
Yep.
Evolution of the Angler is all about fishing without a hook, and just what that means and how I ended up fishing without hooks, hookless fishing.
Yep.
So maybe people would be interested in learning a little bit more about that as a conservation tool.
Mm-hmm. And you've also touched on some other topics like, do fish feel pain? And I was quite surprised to, go through the research along with you and see it for myself. And I was like, okay, well that just evaluates how I've been fishing, because my biggest fear when I hook a fish, if I hurt it beyond the point of what I've already hurt it. And I think to myself, when I stub my toe, when I get too close to the lure and get a little bit of the point in me, I feel it, and it's beyond me to think that a fish couldn't feel it. So I do my best to,
because we were told that fish don't feel pain.
They got a
and now
brain,
there's more science,
because their brain is so small. Well, come on. If they can feel a weather pattern coming in 6 hours before we even know it hits landfall, they, there's definitely room for that. Absolutely.
And I think that, we need our fishing and hunting heritage, so we have to practice these things. And
absolutely.
That catch and release is important as a conservation practice. But I think that to go out and just rip the lips off of as many fish because we're into numbers, it's just unconscionable these days.
I would rather go for that one fish and battle an entire day just for that one fish, for that one golden moment in time, than have to, beat up a lake of little tiny fish.
I agree. Unless you're fishing with your son and you want him to have so he doesn't get bored.
Yeah.
But that's
now
thing.
That's the only time I play the number game is with my son Titus, because, well, that's the only way to keep them interested in a fabulous sport. So. Yeah,
that's right.
Well, Catherine, it's been an absolute pleasure, folks. My special guest this evening, Kathry Maroun of What a Catch. You can catch her on Wild TV and the Fox Sports, and that's an Australian, I believe, carrier of her show. And you can read more on her blog at whatacatch.net, correct?
Yes.
And do you have any friends or sponsors or partners that you'd like to give a plug to?
Well, it's my fishing buddy, Carrie.
Ben McQuinney Outdoor Radio is brought to you by AnglersChoice.ca, the Angler's Choice in handmade soft plastics. Also presented to you by Handlebars Musky Lures, Zing the Bling, Frantic Big Game Baits, Keith's Trophy Fishing, Fish NV Guide Service, and Husky Musky Leaders. You're listening to Ben McQuinney Outdoor Radio.
Lines.
Tight lines.